Okay, welcome back. So now we've talked about how to shift from the brainstem to the neocortex, how to change the chemical makeup of your body. You got the brain model for how to do that. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to jot down what you found valuable, talk with your friends. Now we want to talk about how do you stay in this clear, confident, creative part of the brain. Because you don't want to just keep falling back down in the brainstem every time we find ourselves dealing with, a challenging situation. So this is about how to stay, how to keep this going. In order to do this, and by the way, I'm going to use the brain model. People seem to really like the brain model, so I want to use it throughout the seminar. But we've got to ask a more powerful question. Just how would I rather be feeling is nice, but I don't think it's going to be powerful enough. The question I want you to consider is when you find yourself in this cycle and you want to shift, ask yourself the question, what is my highest purpose here? Now, I know that's not something we ask ourselves a lot, but I think it is important to become clear about that. Unfortunately, I think for some people, they've made their purpose survival. I'm not sure if you've ever heard anybody say, if I can just get through the day, or the week, or the test, or the quarter, or the semester. Yeah, but that's survival. Survival is a brainstem concept. This is about moving from surviving to thriving. Now, for some people, especially those people in the performing arts, sometimes your purpose is to be chosen. And I get that. You want to be chosen for a school. You want to be chosen for a part. You want to be chosen for a friend. You want to be chosen for a relationship partner. But here's the problem. You're not doing the choosing. And that puts the whole idea of being chosen out of your control. That is a recipe for stress and frustration and anxiety. So here's what I would encourage you to consider if you want to stay in this clear, confident, creative part of the brain. You never want to make the most important thing in your life something that is beyond your control. Now, that's not saying that your career isn't important, and your friendships aren't important, and your family isn't important. All very, very important. But if you can't control all those situations, you don't want to make them the most important thing, because if they go off in a way that you can't influence, then you're going to go to that lower 20% of the brain. So when I'm talking about our highest purpose, I'm talking about engaging life in a way that not only allows us to influence or control our experience, but also to bring our best to every situation. Now, as I told you earlier, I am a lover of quotes, so I found a quote that I think will help us operationalize this, kind of make this more concrete. See what you think. It says, every thought, emotion, and action is a statement about who we are and who we are becoming. And I've added to that, are we truly defining ourselves on purpose? See, I don't think we're doing this on purpose. I don't think we're saying, I know, when I'm dealing with an audition, school, parents, and relationship, I'm going to get stressed, frustrated, angry, and tired. Yeah, that's a great idea. We're not doing that on purpose. We just find ourselves doing that. Plus, I don't think this is a very purposeful statement about who we are. Oh yeah, I'm stressed, I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm tired, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm overwhelmed, I'm worried, I'm frightened, I'm annoyed. Yep, that's me. We would never define ourselves that way. And yet when we say, man, these auditions really stress me out. This school is overwhelming. My parents drive me crazy. These peers really worry me. This lack of sleep is really frustrating. Whenever we say this, makes us this. What we're saying is the negative situations and the negative people in our life have the power to define us or control us. And I don't know about you, but I don't want these people in these situations to have that kind of power in my life. So if we don't want to have them to have that kind of power in our lives, we've got to be willing to take on that power ourselves. So here's what I'd like for you to do. Go to the very first page of your manual. It's got those 3 boxes. One of them is blank, the one on the left. I want you to write highest purpose at that top thing. And then what I want you to do is write the qualities and characteristics you would like to be able to access if you were choosing who you want to be and how you want to be. Another way of asking this question is dealing with difficult people, difficult situations. I would like to be more. Again, it's all up to you. Go to that first page of your manual, write those qualities down. Happy, flexible, confident, whatever it is, make sure you've created a way that you want to be. Stop the video, do that now. Okay, so you've made your list. Well, I want to show you a list that other theater students have come up when we asked that question. We said, okay, what are the qualities and characteristics you want to be able to bring to life regardless of the situation, or especially when you're dealing with those triggers? They said happy, kind, loving, clear, confident, productive, creative, flexible, compassionate, resilient, trustworthy, etc. All really good things. So if you like any of these, feel free to add them to your list if this is something you would like to be able to access. And by the way, can you see these come from this upper 80% of the brain? We know these come from the upper 80% of the brain because we ask ourselves the neocortex question. If I were dealing with people on purpose in a way that made a statement about who I am, what would be the qualities and characteristics I would like to be able to draw upon? So let me ask you a question. If, after learning this material, how valuable would it be if you could react to this like this? Most people think that would be pretty cool because guess what it would do in terms of your ability to be influential in your life? You'd be able to determine how you want to be and who you want to be in every situation. Now, here's what a lot of people do. They come to me as a psychologist and they say, Bill, I want to be less stressed, I want to be less frustrated, I want to be less angry and depressed, but frankly, just being less of this does not make us this. Or put another way, creating the life we want isn't about what we're stopping, it's about what we're starting. Because in order to stop something, we have to be worried about it. Man, if I don't stop being so stressed and angry and frustrated, I'll never ba-bum. That's worry and stress and fear. You can't deal with worry and stress and fear with worry and stress and fear. It's like pulling up to a burning building with a flamethrower, just makes it worse. However, if we're willing to see life as an opportunity to define who we are, to determine what qualities and characteristics we want to bring to life to define who we are versus being defined by the people and situations around us, then all of a sudden we move to a different part of the brain. Defining who we are on purpose comes from this upper 80% of the brain. So here's what I've done. I've created 4 questions you can use anywhere, anytime that will allow you to determine whether you want to hang on to any of these. And by the way, remember, I'm not saying you have no right to feel this. If you want to, I have no problem with that. But if you want to change it, these questions will also help you change. See what you think. First question is, was this thought, emotion, or action chosen on purpose? Most people say they don't get stressed, frustrated, angry, tired, suppressed on purpose. That would be a no. Second question is good old Dr. Phil question. How's it working for me? Is this helping me create the life I want? Most people would say, no, this doesn't feel good. Nobody listens to me. The third one is it making the statement I want to make about who I am. Do I really want to define myself as stressed, frustrated, angry, tired, sad? Most people would say no. I love the fourth one. It might be more powerful than all 3 put together. It says, would I teach this way of being, recommend this way of being to someone I love? Now, when I'm talking to parents, I talk about, would you do this for your kids? Obviously, you don't have kids. But just think about the people you love. Would you ever recommend, teach them to be stressed or frustrated or angry or tired or sad? Most people say no. So these are what I call the 4 criteria because we can use them as a criteria for whether we hang on to a particular response or change it. We can say, nope, I'm not doing this on purpose. It's not working for me. It's not making the statement I want to make about who I am. And no, I would never teach this to someone I love. Whereas happy and kind and loving and clear, confident, productive, creative, flexible, compassionate, resilient, trustworthy, chosen on purpose, yeah. I think we can all agree this is going to help us be more effective. It certainly makes the statement we want to make about who we are. That's how we generated the list. And isn't this exactly what we would teach to those we love? So what if we kind of clarified this whole idea, made our highest purpose, defining who we are in a way that we would recommend to someone we love? How valuable would that be going forward? How would that help us kind of access those qualities regardless of the situation? My son Nick, who's in the BFA acting program at Texas State, came up with this next slide. You've seen the keep calm and carry on slides. He came up with this, keep calm and follow the thread. There's a quote I have in the Freeing the Artistic Mind book that says this, there's a thread you follow. It goes among the things that change, but it doesn't change. While you hold it, you can't get lost. Good things happen, bad things happen. It's not always easy for others to see. You never let go of the thread. What if we had a thread that went throughout every aspect of our life, that kept us on track, that kept us clear about who we wanted to be? Now, I know for performers, that thread is often the love of performing. But who are you when you're not performing? Who are you when you're not on? What if we could make this thread, which, by the way, goes to the neocortex, it's been going through that guy up there, the one that had at the very top of the mind there. What if we make this thread defining who we are on purpose in a way that we would recommend to those we love? How would that help us bring this to life and keep it top of the mind, keep it clear about what we want? So now you have something that looks like this. We've got the old stuff, the school, auditions, the future, parent, relationship test, no money, no time, mistakes. And we've got the old reactions, but look what we've done. We've changed them from an old reaction to a valuable signal. So the next time we get stressed or frustrated or angry or annoyed, we go, aha, my limbic system is interpreting some person or situation that's throwing me into the fight or flight part of the brain. Do I want to feed that or do I want to change that? And if I want to change that, what do I want to change it to? That's where being very clear about our highest purpose or these qualities and characteristics is important. I've got clear, confident, creative, patient, flexible, open, kind, authentic. If you like any of those, feel free to do that. Now here's something that's going to be very powerful in your ability to do this. I want you to consider turning the problem into the practice field. You know, sports teams, they have a practice field. They'll go run their offense and their defense. They'll figure out what the other team's going to do. They practice, so that when they get in the game, they know exactly what to do. Well, we don't have a practice field, but I'm going to suggest that life is going to give us plenty of opportunities to practice. I'm also going to suggest we're always practicing something. We're always reinforcing one of two responses. That means we're either going to be practicing this or we're going to be practicing this. I'm going to suggest we don't need to practice this anymore. We're already really good at it. You know, if we ever need to be stressed or frustrated or angry or upset, we probably know how to do that. This, however, might require some practice. Here's another thing you can do that can make you very powerful in bringing this to life. Notice how you go into a situation. Because most people go into a situation kind of neutral. They go into a situation and they react to the situation. If the situation's good, they feel good. If the situation's bad, they feel bad. That's understandable, but that has us being controlled by or defined by the situation. What if before you went into that audition, before you went into that conversation, before you went into that class, before you went into this, back to your home or to talk to your relationship partner, you ask yourself the question, okay, what are the qualities and characteristics I want to bring to this experience? Who do I want to be? And how am I? What do I look like when I'm clear and confident, creative and patient and flexible and open and authentic? What's my body language like? What's my tone of voice like? And we go into the situation already in the upper 80% of the brain. We're going to automatically deal with all of this stuff better because we're coming from this clear, confident, creative part of the brain where our interpersonal skills are, where our problem skills are, where our patience and love and kindness and compassion is. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever read a book or been to a seminar where you heard something that you really, really liked, and then 2 weeks later it was like, what? Where did that come from? So I want to show you how to make this real in your life. Here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. Wake up in the morning and ask yourself before you get out of the bed, what is my highest purpose this morning? Just this morning. I know some of the people I'm going to be dealing with, some of the situations I'm going to be in. Who do I want to be? How do I want to be this morning? And then go into the morning practicing that. Doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It's about practicing. So you might find yourself slipping every once in a while, but now you know exactly what's happening. You're falling into the brainstem. You know exactly how to get out. Then around lunchtime, I'm going to encourage you to reboot. It's going to be a very important concept. If I were to reboot this computer, it wouldn't just restart it. It would put everything back where it goes. You start off with a fresh system, a fresh experience. Ask yourself the question, what's my highest purpose this afternoon? Just this afternoon. I know some of the people I'm going to be dealing with, some of the situations. Who do I want to be? How do I want to be? Go into the afternoon practicing that. Then around dinner time, you reboot. And ask that question, who do I want to be this evening? What qualities and characteristics do I want to bring in to how I am this evening? This is impressive because it does several things. It divides the day into thirds, so we're only dealing with 2 or 3, 4 hours at a time, so it helps us focus, and allows us to reboot 2 or 3 times during the day, and it uses life's transitions. Going from bed to the shower is a transition. Going from home to school is a transition. Going from class to class is a transition. Going from conversation to conversation is a transition. If we can use those transitions to remind ourselves the qualities and characteristics we want to bring to the next situation, you'll be amazed at how powerful that is. And as we do this over and over and over and over, it starts to become a habit. And all of a sudden, it's just automatically happening easier and easier and easier if we're willing to make it our highest purpose. It's got to be, for a while, the most important thing you do, because this isn't a habit for us. Most of us are kind of habitually finding ourselves falling back into this process. So if we put these two things together, we've got the brain model and we've got the 4 criteria. The purposeful, effective, statement, teach. The only problem is it spells pest. I don't know, it just doesn't feel like a really good thing. So I've rearranged them so that I put the first 2, the statement we want to make about who we are and what we would teach to someone we love, right at the top. We certainly want it to be effective and purposeful. That spells step. That's a little bit better word to use, especially if we pair this with a quote from Martin Luther King. It's a great quote. Speaks to how we go about life. It says, you know, you don't have to see up the entire staircase. You only have to be willing to take the first step. How often have we worried about step 5 or 6 or 7 when we're really at step 1? If we're willing to focus on that and bring that clarity, confidence, and creativity into step 1, then that informs step 2 and step 3 and step 4. By the time we get to step 5, we know more about who we are and what's going on. All right, I want to give you as much information as possible, so I want to show you the true cause of how we think, feel, and behave. If it's not this making us this, what is? I think it's a couple of things. The first thing is our past. Anytime we've done something or felt something or thought something in the past, we have created what's called a neural pathway in our brain. And if it was negative, it went from the limbic system down to the brainstem. And these neural pathways are very powerful. They're almost like going through a field of grain. If you go through once, it's going to be hard to find that pathway. But if you go down that same path again and again and again, if you do this again and again and again, we create these old neural pathways. It speaks to why this is so common. There's a quote I love that speaks to this as well. It says, sometimes we stay in hell a long time because we've learned the names of the streets. You know, it's just become familiar. It's become what we've always done. So if we can get clear that, okay, this is just an old neural pathway. It's good information. It does trigger worry and cortisol. That's not what I'm looking for. So what we want to do is not try to stop these, but try to start these new neural pathways that go from our limbic system up into our neocortex. And we want to practice those until those become habitual, accessing our clarity, confidence, and creativity, triggering serotonin and endorphins. In order to do that, we've got to know the difference between the hardware and the software. This is the hardware. It's the limbic system. It's been with us since we've been on the planet, and it's a wonderful system for staying safe from a saber-toothed tiger. You know, if there's danger around, the limbic system is going to kick in, run away, it's perfect. But the problem is the limbic system is oversensitive, hypersensitive to anything it thinks we need to worry about. That's why when you watch the news, it isn't the news. It's not what's new, it's what you should worry about. Because they've learned if they can capture your limbic system, then when they go to commercial, they can sell you some soap. So you don't want to be motivated and ruled by those. We want to make a distinction between the hardware and the software. The software is what I call a piece of the pie. Perceptions, interpretations, and expectations. This is what the limbic system uses to determine how it interprets situations. So if we can just notice, have I chosen my perception around auditions on purpose? Am I interpreting that on purpose? Are my expectations about auditions, have those been chosen purposefully? Or school, or parents, or relationships, or peer pressure? Because chances are they haven't been chosen on purpose if they are throwing us into that lower 20% of the brain. Matter of fact, I believe this is so powerful that it is actually the cause. Our perceptions, interpretations, and expectations create our emotions, behaviors, and experience. Let me give you an example. Let's assume you have 3 people in a room. One of them is afraid of dogs. She's been afraid of dogs all her life. Her mom and dad told her that dogs are dangerous. She believes dogs are dangerous. She's afraid of dogs. Second person in the room just loves dogs. She's got about 10 dogs at home. She thinks dogs are God's gift to the universe. Third person in the room is from a country where they don't have dogs. This person has never seen a dog before in their life. You bring a dog into the room. Fact. You got 3 different sets of interpretations, expectations, and perceptions. The person that's afraid of dogs says, oh my goodness, her perception is dogs are dangerous, interpretation is I'm going to be hurt, expectation is oh my goodness, emotion is fear, behavior is I'm out of here. The person that loves dogs goes, a dog, goes to hug the dog. Her expectation is I get to be licked by the dog. This is great. The person that's never seen a dog goes, what the heck is that? It's the same dog. The dog can't be causing the reaction. It's the same dog. What's causing 3 totally different reactions are people's perceptions, interpretations, and expectations about dogs. So folks, all we got over here just a bunch of old dogs we've been reacting to in old ways. If we can go, aha, good information, and get really clear that this is what I can control. I can't change the hardware. I can reprogram the software. Especially if you want to distill this down into one word, and that is meaning. How is my limbic system attributing meaning to what it is perceiving? And am I influencing that, or am I just letting that run based on old past habits? The key is to make sure we are choosing that meaning, not letting it be chosen for us by old habits and old situations. Now, there is one thing I think is worth talking about, and has to do with the meaning of forgiveness. Because a lot of people have trouble with this concept. Because they're afraid if somebody does something to me and I forgive them, well, it means they got away with it. Or it means they're going to do it again. Or it means someone else is going to do it again. And so we hold on to this to keep ourselves safe. There's a quote I found that I think speaks to that. It says, holding on to anger and resentment is like grasping a hot coal while blaming our misery on the person who started the fire. Yeah, they may have started it, but now we're the one that's holding that hot coal. So some people will say, well, okay, I'll forgive, but I will not forget. Because they're afraid if they forget, it makes them vulnerable to being hurt again. But remember the limit. Any image we hold in our mind triggers a certain chemical change in our body. So when we run what's been done to us by someone over and over in our mind in order to keep ourselves safe, it doesn't keep us safe. It triggers that chemical change again, and we almost re-injure ourselves over and over and over. So when I'm talking about forgiveness, it has to do with letting go of emotional baggage. We don't want to just keep, carrying this around. Because what can happen is it triggers that lower 20% of the brain, and we become chained to this imaginary baggage that we're just carrying around forever and ever, and it's dragging us down, and it's keeping us from being free, and it's keeping us from accessing our clarity, confidence, and creativity. So when I'm talking about forgiveness, I'm talking about the power of forgiveness to break those chains. There's a couple of quotes I think might be helpful. The first one is, forgiveness is the realization that you are no longer harmed. Doesn't mean it didn't hurt in the first place. Doesn't mean it wasn't a big deal. I am no longer going to define myself as harmed as a way of staying safe. Or put another way, forgiveness is the decision that I will no longer hold on to images of being harmed in the past as a way of staying safe in the future. So some people say, well, that's great, Bill, but how do I stay safe? How do I keep people from hurting me? Well, what I suggest we do is define ourselves on purpose in a way we would teach and or recommend to those we love, and then we use this as a criteria for who we're willing to be vulnerable with, who we let close to us. Want to be in a close friendship with me? Want to be in a relationship with me? Great. It's about being happy and kind and loving and clear and confident, productive and creative. You don't have to be perfect, but this needs to be what you value. If you want to be mean or abusive or critical, go be in a relationship with someone else. They say that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So you want to make sure you're choosing who you get close to and who you stay close to in a very purposeful way. So bottom line, What we've now learned is when we allow our limbic system to see people and situations as annoying, infuriating, irritating, depressing, and frightening, we become annoyed, infuriated, irritated, depressed, and frightened. In other words, when we define people based on their effect on us, we become that, and we become trapped in this lower 20% of the brain. What we want to do is see life and people as an opportunity to practice defining who I am, practice accessing my highest purpose so that the limbic system interprets life in this way, an opportunity to practice. It allows us to access all the qualities and characteristics we need to stay in the top of the mind. This takes us to the third level of awareness. We know that our brainstem sometimes limits our clarity and creativity. We know how to shift. Now we need to know what I think and feel defines who I am. Therefore, we want to ask ourselves the question, am I willing to make my highest purpose, the most important thing I do, defining who I am in a way I would teach to those I love? If no, well, you still have the brain model. You'll be able to shift, but you won't be able to stay there. However, if yes, that allows you to have access to all of these tools, this clarity, confidence, creativity, and kindness, whatever you want to use. The 4 criteria that spells STEP, the statement I want to make about who I am, what I would teach to those I love. I want it to be effective and purposeful. Down at the bottom, it has the idea of starting in the morning, going into the morning, practicing being this way, rebooting around lunch, going into the afternoon, practicing, rebooting around dinner, going into the evening, practicing, dividing the day into thirds, using life's transition. And then that component of meaning. Am I willing to see life as an opportunity to practice defining who I am in a way I would recommend to someone I love? And if so, what does that look like? If we can keep that clear and start practicing that, giving meaning to life in that way, you'll be amazed at how quickly this starts to become second nature and exactly what it's all about. So now we have the first 2 parts of the system. So I'm going to stop the video and give you an opportunity to ask yourself the question, what have you found valuable about this? What's been helpful about the brain model? And then being able to stay there by defining who we are, not letting other people and situations define who we are, but choosing who we want to be in a way that we would recommend to someone we love and making that our highest purpose. Stop the video now, talk a little bit about that, write that down. What have you found valuable? Where do you want to apply it? We'll go into part 3.